opened Because Science, the actual retail storefront, in October last year, and we ran for 5 months. So we just closed up at the end of last month.
And that was planned at the beginning to sort of be a pop-up shop?
Okay. It was planned to be a pop-up so that I could gather data. I wanted to know what people would want to buy, what they'd be interested in. Merchandising in a store is a whole different can of worms than merchandising for craft shows. So I wanted to sort of learn the ropes on that. And I wanted to know things like conversion rates. And if people came in off the street, would they buy stuff? Because I'm only used to conversion rates with respect to online and craft shows, and they're very different. And that proved to be the case for the store. It was also very different. So in a good way. So with that data, now I have a much better idea of what to do. So Because Science 2.0 will be hopefully a permanent location. So we already know what sort of, I guess, KPIs to look for when it comes to choosing a location. So like foot counts and area income levels and how many people transit the road in front of the store every single day. Things like that can help me make informed decisions about what our revenue capabilities are if advertising is not part of the solution. So if we were just a store relying only on foot traffic, would we survive?
Yeah.
Which is an important baseline to establish, because if you can't pay rent, you can't pay rent.
Yeah.
It has to work out of the box immediately. So now I have all that data. So now that we're looking for new places, I can apply those data to build fairly trustworthy projections so that I can make sound decisions. So when you walked into the store, I had it organized to not scare away non-scientists. So plants and animals were in the front. And then as you got further back, you get into space and dinosaurs, which I consider natural history, but it ended up just being all dinosaur stuff. And then as you get further back, you start to get into mathematics, chemistry, biology, computer science, and engineering. So so the way I organized the store was partially by item type. So we had a whole stationery wall. We had a whole wall for mugs. All the jewelry, for the most part, was together. But then other than those specific sections, it was organized by science. So if someone wanted a chemistry gift, they go straight to the chemistry section. And I knew exactly how much space we had for each section. So that informed my buying decisions. So if I was like, oh, we've got a gap in chemistry, it's time to go look for another product to fill this. Okay, we've already got mugs, we've already got jewelry, we've already got scarves. Like, what else can we get that will fill that? Turns out finding handmade science stuff is really hard. Options are very limited. I ended up choosing some not handmade items, so things like puzzles or like these 3D puzzle things that I found that are really cool.
Cool. Yeah. Talk to me about the handmade aspect, and also like what your definition of handmade is, because of course, like Etsy's definition has changed a lot over the years, and like what portion of it has to be made by hand is it like small business okay, or
that's sort of how I see it. And part of that metamorphosis has also been from being in DC. So where I was before in Rochester,
which answers Tom's question, which is where was your store located, which is Washington, DC.
It was technically right? Vienna, Virginia.
Okay.
Just outside of DC. We are hoping 2.0 will be actually located in DC.
Nice.
So in DC, when I do craft shows and things, they're usually billed as vendor events. A notable example is the downtown holiday market, where they promote small business. And these tend to be like micro businesses, like very, very small. But a lot of people here, because DC is such a multicultural city, it's extremely diverse. Maybe I'll be next to a vendor who is Turkish, and she designs jewelry and then has people in her village she grew up in making it. So she's not making it. It's handmade, but wouldn't be considered handmade for a craft show, but is still handmade, just not by the business owner all the time. It gets a little gray. So that's small business to me, and that's what I want to end up supporting as best I can. So I did carry things from solopreneurs, where it was just them, to bigger agencies. So like these pencil sets I have, I
Yeah.
love these. These are, I don't know if you can really see, these are
Maybe a little
biodomes
bit bigger.
and atmospheres. So each different color is supposed to represent like a different layer of the atmosphere, um, or different biodome colors. So aquatic is blue, grassland is green. I think they're
Mhm.
incredibly nerdy.
There we
There we
go.
go.
Making it
I
bigger.
cannot operate backwards. There we
Nice.
go. So I think these are a lot of fun. But the company that makes these is a little bit bigger, but
Mhm.
I know that they're stamping these in house.
Mhm.
Maybe the
Right.
pencil blanks come from somewhere else. Might even say it does not say. But they're still basically handmade.
Yeah.
And as you can tell, I use a lot of machines in the work I make, but it's all hand finished. So our hands are still involved in that making process. So um, yeah, I think I just want to, best I can, select things that are handmade, small business made, locally made, but not exclusively. I don't want to limit myself because it would be very hard to stock a whole science gift shop with very tight restrictions. If I ran a handmade gift shop or locally made gift shop, that wouldn't be hard at all. There's so many artists around here. But when I narrow the focus to science, it becomes very difficult. For example, there aren't very many science artists locally. I know a handful, and that would not be enough to stock an entire store.
Yeah, and also, things that are handmade, made in small quantities and small batches, they tend to be more expensive, right? And so, having a little bit of a range of price points must be nice too, so that, everybody can, like, find a little something.
Yeah, and I think that works a lot better in retail stores.
Mhm.
So I, for the longest time, tried to not have super low price point, like below $15 online, because there's so much work that goes into preparing a shipment that the
Mhm.
profit you end up with is barely worth the effort. But when you're in a store and you're pricing things in bulk, you get economy of scale, even though it's a small scale. It's still more scale than what you can do with shipping. So it's much easier to have little stickers and pencil sets and lower price point items and have it actually be worth your effort. That also helps with the conversion rate too. If someone comes in, they don't really want to leave empty handed. So if we give them opportunities to spend even $5, it ends up being a much better situation overall for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And yes, hear ye on the it being difficult to like make things that are at small price points worthwhile and efficient for online stuff. I definitely have some of those same struggles with some of our soldering kits, which is part of the reason that like we don't really have any soldering kits that are under $10 because we have to not only do we have to do all the kitting for them ourselves, but yeah, the amount of time it takes just to kind of like print the label, pack up the order and stuff like that
Yeah.
is a factor. And I mean, Robin's pretty darn good at it and she's pretty efficient, but but still, yeah, we have a few things that are under that, but they're pretty much just the circuit board rulers, which, we just like grab and package and
Yeah.
that's it. They didn't require any kitting or any work really when they came in. So,
Yeah.
yep. Yep. Cool, interesting. So, yeah, what else do you have in the store? So what are the specific science disciplines that you absolutely try to cover? You talked about chemistry, math, physics, biology. What about like computer science? Do you
Definitely.
All right,
Um,
what do you have for
it's
that?
harder to find stuff for computer science,
Yeah.
but I find other roundabout ways. So maybe it's hard to find like a punny coding sticker,
Mhm.
but it's less hard to find Ada Lovelace stuff. Or I design it
Mm,
myself. So I
yeah.
designed this card set, for example. It has 8 greeting cards with quotes from women in STEM. And I tried to cover as much variety in terms of where in the world they're from, what discipline they studied. Um, some people are well known, some people have never heard of.
Mhm.
Um, and that's the other great thing about being a maker with the store too, is that if I'm having trouble filling an area of the store, I just design it myself.
Yeah.
That's a lot of where our greeting cards are too. I think our greeting cards, which has sort of been a new adventure in the last year or so, is that you can't really find science gift cards and not in like you never have more than one option for an occasion. So all our cards are all science. So we have
Nice.
science puns, science holidays like laboratory warmings and PhD defense cards and things like that that you don't really find anywhere else. And a lot of them we have to design ourselves because they literally exist nowhere. But I think they're worthwhile having. And it's always
That is
fun to
awesome.
watch people hanging out over by the card section because I can always hear giggling. I'm really big on science puns. Um, and yeah, it's really striking a chord with customers too. So I love that.